right, guys, I'm here late at night, wrapping up work. I finished training outside. It is after 2 in the a.m., and I've had several really good questions come in this last week on YouTube that I wanted to go ahead and answer if at all possible. I got a message from Schluck 4 days ago, and I can really appreciate the way that let me go ahead and read it to you. Clint, I'm sure you are tired of the question, but what is the deal with some of your exercise selections? Are your wrists toast, for example, thinking about that metal thing that I use for front squats? And like, why are you using Hatfield squats with a gazillion bands? Is it for novelty or is there a specific reason for it? Anyways, not criticizing, just curious. Keep up the hard work. I love it. Been following you since your account that I believe was closed down on YouTube years ago. Cheers. Trying to pick up from your spelling where you are from. But I get messages like this all the time and comments like this all the time from people being rude. And obviously you're not being rude, and I really, really appreciate that. I have answered this question a lot. It's a tough question to answer, not because it's difficult to answer, but just because I don't. The more that I talk about it, the more of a realization that it is. A big thing is I do a lot of the stuff that I do for novelty, and it's fun. But I've been training for enough years that I know a million different ways to do exercises that are that help me get better, that are effective and efficient. If I'm walking in, you mentioned about the metal thing. I call it a Viking harness that I use for front squats. Why am I using it instead of just front squatting? I've my best front squat ever. Proper front squat, held into position, weightlifting front squat, I think is like 70 kilos, so 154 pounds. My wrist flexibility, shoulder, elbow flexibility, spine flexibility, that's all it's going to allow me to hold. So what am I going to get from doing that kind of front squat? Absolutely freaking nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the people who say we got to work on your mobility, anytime someone ever says, well, you got to work on your mobility, and that's all they say, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. They offered you no information on how to get better. They just said you need to work on your mobility. How? What? Do you have any idea what's wrong with me? Yeah, we're doing some deals with your shoulder. No, you have no idea what's wrong with me. So I do have an autoimmune disease. I have a ridiculous amount of arthritis everywhere. You can't really, I don't know what you can see in my hands here and how red my knuckles are, but I've already had I had a cortisone injection Wednesday, Thursday, and today. So this is the best that my joints are going to look. I can take a big dose of cortisone and I can go in and do a full snatch. I can go in and do a proper front squat. But that is a chemical taking down the inflammation in my joints. And there's no diet, there's no movement, there's no working on my mobility that's going to replace that. And I can't blast that cortisone forever. For what? So I can front squat? Why? So my best ever front squat with that harness, I believe, is 300 kilos, so 661. I did 600 really, really consistently, which is around 260, 265 kilograms. Really, really consistently at that time. Right now, obviously, I can't do anything near that. But that's the kind of weight that will have a carryover to the rest of my lifts. So it's making the best of a situation. So why am I doing Hatfield squats with a bunch of bands? You saw the video the other day, me doing Hatfield squats with just a, lightweight. That was 205 pounds plus 500 to 600 pounds in band tension. It's pretty ridiculous when you unrack that weight. It's a ridiculous feeling on your body. The reason I've done a 5 week block of very low bar weight, very high band tension weight, is that I guess about 5 to 6 weeks ago, 6 to 7 weeks ago, I did a front squat with my harness, and I used the buffalo bar, and I had some weight releasers on there. And that is a great recipe for building Atlas stones as well as your deadlift. And on the way down, I swung forward a little bit too far. I let the bar get out of position, I think. And my left knee, just that entire quad tendon, patellar tendon, just felt bad on the way down. And I went on ahead and made the lift. And I miscalculated the weight, and I had, I think, 30 pounds extra on the bar over what I should have done, over what the plan was. I had an extra 30 pounds, and I made the weight. Had my knee not hurt, I would have made it easily. But my knee still feels a little funky, and really, it's a lot of quad tightness. That once I get that quad tightness worked out, my knee feels really, really good. So what can I do? I want to squat. I need to go squat. Full squats, which is what I'm focusing on, of every variation, seems to bother me a little bit. So I can do partial squats, or I can do full squats. I can do paused full squats with any bar, really lightweight in the hole, and then I can overload it with a crap ton of bands. So on the way down, at the point that my knee's starting to say, I don't know if we're like this or not, let's wait and see how much weight's on the bar. I've got a really, really light weight on the bar. And then on the way up, it gets heavy fast. At about halfway up, or a little above parallel-ish, my hamstrings start working in absolute overdrive. So my back and my erectors have maintained me to stay upright in posture, and my hamstrings are just killing it on the way up. So I get some good work. I'm able to do some kind of squat. I'm working my erectors, my glutes, my hamstrings, my quads. We'll get into it in just a second about my feet as well, without doing damage to my knee. And the Hatfield squat is one of those squats that you can pretty much do with any injury. You really, really can. If you have any injury, a knee, a hip, a shoulder, back, ankle, maybe even. If you have any kind of injury, or you're in the off season, you just finished a powerlifting meet and you still want to squat, the Hatfield squat is a great squat to train and get better at in the off season, because it will transfer over and your joints just hurt so much less doing it. Really, really does. So we'll go into the process of why I'm doing all these crazy exercises now that I covered the specifics on those. A few years ago, we'll go back, 5 years ago or so, I began having issues walking. And you just think, I'm having a series of, I'm having some bad luck here. I don't know what's going on. My feet are acting funny. I tripped and would fall at random times. I had some pain in my toes that I couldn't, I thought that I just, if I stressed my foot, wore my shoes wrong, I start to believe in all that narrow-toed shoe junk that's everywhere. I don't know. But it progressively got worse. And about a year ago, I went to the doctor because I was having a lot of pain. I've had pulmonary embolism and both legs loaded with blood clots and, a lot of things. So it's hard for me to understand, is the pain in my leg from the knee down related to blood clot issues and embolism issues, or is it something else? So I ended up going through a long process about a year ago. I got an MRI, and every disc in my back, from neck to sacrum, is herniated. Every single one of them is herniated. Bone spurs, stenosis. Oh man, there were 5 things. Obviously, I can't think of them right now. But, I went to the first doctor and, hey, you need to have surgery right now. Well, okay, is surgery, how long am I going to be out after surgery before I can get back to training? Oh, you're not going to be training again. You're done training. You're done training. And he was a doctor that knew me. So I went to another doctor, a little more of a high-profile doctor, and she said the exact same thing. So clearly I'm in an appointment with a third doctor who said the same thing, said that in all of his years as a neurosurgeon, he had never seen an MRI as bad as mine. Also said that I needed surgery immediately because I was in a situation where I could get under a yoke or a barbell or pick up something in training and my spine shift the wrong way and I would never walk again. But he also said I had the exact same chance of getting out of bed the wrong way, my back shifting the wrong way, and me never walking again. So training was not going to be, the thing that I had to leave out. But he also agreed that once I have the surgery, training is done because it's the entire spine and it's everywhere. And all the idiots who, well, it's all those heavy years of lifting. It's not. If it's every single disc, then there are 5 different things wrong. It's genetic. It's not something that you did. It wasn't an injury that I did. If you knew my dad, you knew that he had severe back problems. My grandfather, my aunt on that side, my grandfather on my mom's side was hunchback. And if you've ever met my sister, if you think I'm a good person, you should meet my sister. Way beyond good. And I've never seen a back as absolutely wild as hers. Just, I can't, it's totally insane, So it is genetic, and she's never lifted a weight in her life. So, it's totally genetic. And, the idea, I ended up meeting with, that doctor, that last doctor said, look, hey, Clint, he couldn't explain a lot of things that I could and couldn't do. I barely have any movement of my feet. And at that time, I barely had any movement, barely able to move my feet at all. Now I can move my toes a little bit. I can move my ankle a little bit. Most of my calves are completely gone. They're atrophied, but they're bigger now than they were. But he couldn't explain a lot of the things that I could do. So he said, hey, if you are a master strongman, this is where he blew me away, you need to deadlift 320 at a minimum, which is 705. And I'm just like, well, yeah. I'm thinking, how do you know this? And he says, I don't think you're going to do that ever again in your life. But I think you can deadlift 300, which is 661. And I'm thinking, okay, I can live with that. And he said, I think you can deadlift 250, 551, pretty soon. I don't know how long it'll take you to go from 250 to 300, but it'll take a whole lot of intelligence. And 300 would be like your max potential. Not saying you should be doing it that often, but that would be your max potential. But I think it's possible. But we have to get all of those muscles really, really strong, and I want you to go to physiotherapy. So I'm just, all right. So I go to physiotherapy, and the physiotherapist refused to see me after seeing my MRI. And I've been to several physiotherapists, and all of them refused to work with me after seeing my MRI. Too dangerous to work with me because too many things could go wrong. I did meet with Seth Albersworth, Dr. Seth. You may know him from Elite FTS. If you don't, find him on Instagram, ton of material. Instagram, Elite FTS, and YouTube. He was a client of mine when he was in high school. And since then, he's become a doctor. So it's been that long ago that we've known each other and that we work together. But I've met with him quite a bunch of times, and he's given me several plans and opportunities. And, his whole theory was, are you going to train? Yes, I'm going to train. Now, what's the point of surgery I walk in and they say, what is my chief complaint? My chief complaint is I'm getting weaker in the gym. I'm getting weaker because I can't walk. I can't get my legs to fire right. My hamstrings aren't firing. My glutes aren't firing. My calves aren't firing. I can't move my feet. I can't make progress in the gym. That's my chief complaint. Well, we're going to have surgery. Am I going to be able to train? No, you're not going to be able to train after. And what are you fixing with surgery? What's the point? If I'm going to end up in a wheelchair either way, I'm going to train between now and then. I'm at least going to have a shot at getting better. So, Seth is like, okay, Dr. Seth's like, okay, if you're going to train, we can make all of those muscles from head to toes stronger so they can hold your body in place and make you a safer person. If we can take all of those muscles in your back and make them stronger, they're going to be able to hold your spine into place safer. They're going to be able to create more stability all the way along that spinal chain. So he just said, hey, if you're willing to do the work, we can at least give you a shot. And I'm willing to do the work. So we're giving it a shot. And I've been through stem cell treatment. I've had 2 rounds of stem cells, peptides like crazy. I really hate to talk too much about that because I don't want people to think that's the answer. And then I hate to give advice in that direction anymore because it's a really iffy situation when people start asking questions about that stuff. But huge progress. I still struggle to move my feet. I still have pain. Most of my pain is just, some uncomfortableness that I can get away with some hot creams without any pain medication, really. I can't say that pain medication helps. I've got a reverse hyper sitting right out there that I will use at least twice a day. But I'm able to train. And the big thing for me, more important than being strong, more important than competing. And for me, competing is about the friendship. I miss that so much. I miss feeling like I belong. But I miss being with my friends. But beyond all of that, I want to train more than anything. So whether I'm training, doing all of my working sets with a 185-pound Atlas stone, or I go back a few years to where my warm-up was walking out to the 285 with no tacky in the middle of the dust and dirt, picking it up and loading it as my warm-up, I still love to train. Whether I'm squatting 1 plate or 8 plates or 10 plates, I still love to train. I want to go out there and crank up the music. I want to have a plan. I want to go to bed every night thinking about what tomorrow's training sessions or what the day after's training session is going to be like. I do that. Without that, I don't know what I'm supposed to really, I don't know. I don't know what else thrills me like that. And you say, you can find something else. I've been doing this 30-something years. It's thrilled me for 30-something years. I don't want to find anything else. I've tried other things, and this thrills me more than anything. So I know I've talked a long time, but what I did about a year ago is I sat down, and my buddy Matt helped me out with this concept. He said, sit down and make a list of all the exercises that you can do. So if I'm doing deadlift, what are the exercises that I can do to build my deadlift? And what are the exercises I can do to build my overhead press? What are the exercises I can do for Atlas stones, for squats, for all the stuff that I need to do? And I wrote down that list, and that list was really, really short, I came up with. So then I had to make a list. I said, okay, what's the next line of offense I can do? And so, I added in some little things like front squats. The store had a man array. I'm like, I always made fun of people that use the man array as a little trap pad. I'm going to buy one. It was $20. I bought one. Camber bar. We got a buffalo bar. Bottom position, box squats with the foam and the Bosu ball. You've seen those. And I tried all of them. And I came to the conclusion that the box squat with the foam and the Bosu ball takes a ton of pressure off my spine. I'm not able to use near as much weight, but I'm able to train hard. It looks stupid. It's easy to make fun of, but I can do it. And I didn't realize until I added those things how much better that my spine and hips felt the next several days. I also learned that box squats of any kind especially with bands, eats into my spine. I didn't realize I thought I took it away, and focused on front squats and kind of weightlifting squats and other things like that. So I limit the amount of times that I do my favorite exercises, which are box squats with a crap ton of weight and an absolute crap ton of bands in full gear. I limit the amount of times per month or per 2 months that I do that exercise. And I have a set and rep range. And if you follow my training, you've probably picked up on it. Not the last month, because the last month has been me working around my knee. But for the last year, I have a set and rep range and a percent range that I pretty much work in a rotation. So if I know, this week is 5s and next week is 4 sets of 4 and the week after is 3 sets of 3 and the week after is 3s and so forth and so on, then it doesn't really matter which exercise that I do. It's important to continually rotate those exercises because each exercise is not only going to build something, it's also going to break down something in your body. So the idea as an athlete is to never be specific. Never be specific in your training. The idea is to become the most generally strong person that you can and focus on that. I just need to get stronger. So I write down, I've got notebooks right here, and I write down the exercise that I do and kind of the way that I have it set up and what my PRs are at every single way that I do it. So when I do come back to it, I want a PR somewhere. And every single week, I calculate out what my projected max is based off that kind of lift and what kind of weight was it at the top and what kind was it at the bottom. So when I come back, even next week, if I change bars, if I change bands, weight ratios, I still try to beat that hypothetical number somewhere. I still try to always get a little bit stronger without running down my body. Because my goal is to train hard. My goal is to train. I want to train. Get me in the gym, let me train. I want to train hard. I want the music to be loud. And I want to be a stronger athlete so that one day I can get back there with my friends and feel like I belong again out there on the strongman stage. I don't have to be good, but I want to get out there again with my friends and feel like I belong. So I talked for 20-something minutes. I hope this gives you a rough idea of the thought process in my mind behind what I'm doing. And what I'm doing now isn't exactly what I was doing or the thought process that I had 6 months ago. I'm constantly learning, again, which exercises feel the best, which don't, which help, which carry over. How did my training program switch? If you look now, right now I'm doing Atlas stones twice a week. A year ago, I was doing Atlas stones 0 times per week. 6 months ago, I was doing Atlas stones 0 times per week. So I've added in one training session of Atlas stones on Monday night, and recently I've added in a second training session of Atlas stones on Friday nights. So how does all of that affect how much squatting and deadlifting I can do? And if you watch the deadlifting, heck, you notice that I'm deadlifting with all the crazy, not right now, but I have been for the last year, the deadlift with all the crazy bands, pulling the bar forward, takes so much pressure off the spine and totally loads the lats, the butt, and the hamstring. Is it an exact deadlift? No, it's not. Does it allow me to train? Yes, it does. Does it build the deadlift? We're not sure. I think it did. But if I would have deadlifted regular, my back would have been absolutely totally screwed up, and I wouldn't be deadlifting at all. So the idea is I built a stronger version of Clint, and that stronger version of Clint is still deadlifting, and he's deadlifting more than he would have if he had not been doing all these crazy exercises. So anyway, man, I really do appreciate your question. Absolute solid question. Please keep asking. If you have questions, if you guys have questions, I'll do my best to answer a few questions per week. But like we said, it's 2:30 in the morning, and this is my first opportunity all day to sit down and turn on my phone and some lights and record an answer for you guys. So let me upload this and keep commenting on the videos, guys. I really appreciate it. Really, really do. It's really, really difficult to offend me. So if you have something, English isn't your first language, or you like poking at me a little bit, don't be afraid. I can take it. I've got a sense of humor, and I know funny when it's funny, and I can laugh at myself too. So enjoy, guys. Talk to you soon.